You're listening to Packers Talk Network. PackersTalk.com.
You're listening to No Huddle Radio on the Packers Talk Radio Network, your home for in-depth and thoughtful Packers analysis. I'm your host, Gil Martin. My co-host is my good friend, Sean Tehan. In addition to this show, I write for the Packers Post and Cheesehead TV. Sean was a TV sportscaster in Minnesota. We're here to talk Packers because you're all here for one thing, and that's a love for Green Bay football. And Sean, this is our first live show here on YouTube and elsewhere, and it's great to be live as the Packers have kicked off training camp for the 2024 season. But before we get into that, how about a word from our sponsor?
Hey, as John McClane once said, Die Hard, welcome to the party, pal. So anyways, just to get us started real quick, before we get started, a few words about our sponsor, Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, Ticket King has been providing Packers tickets to Packer fans. You can find them on the web at theticketking.com or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. For direct links to specific Packer game tickets, you can see it on your screen right there if you're watching on YouTube. Go to packerstalk.com/tickets or browse their website at theticketking.com. And hey, get on YouTube. You can get on that site, get your Packer tickets. Family Night's already sold out, but we hope we have our quarterback maybe ready to go by the time Family Night rolls around, Gil.
Yeah, this has been a difficult start to training camp in that sense. And, you know, for so long we've talked about how Jordan Love is not the drama queen that maybe Aaron Rodgers was at times. And now here he is, not exactly holding out, but not exactly participating in practice either.
Yeah, the thing is right now where he is present at training camp. He's not in the helmet and jersey, but he is present there where you got to think if the Packers and Jordan Love were really far apart or there were some clear issues there, they wouldn't even let him go report in the building. You know, he probably still be in California right now, just training and working out before a contract gets done, but he's awaiting that contract extension. All reports are indicating that all sides are optimistic an extension does get done. But what was kind of concerning this week, Gil, was that Diana Rossini of The Athletic, previously of ESPN, she reported that a deal between the Packers and Love may not get done until the next few weeks. Next few weeks. I hope it's the next few days. I can do days. I can't do weeks. And it's just a little bit of a concern right now on my end. How do you feel on your end, Gil? Do you feel like something will get done? I feel like something's going to get done sooner than a few weeks. I hope something gets done sooner than a few weeks.
Yeah, it has to be. And, you know, you talk all you want about Jordan Love. He's got a year under his belt now as a starter. He's been in the league 4 years. You still need those reps in practice to work with your receivers, to get your timing down. And, you know, it's like you want your best players to be leading the way in training camp, whether it's Kenny Clark, whether it's Jair Alexander. You know, we've talked so much about how important it is for Jair Alexander to be committed and that maybe he wasn't under Joe Barry. Well, now it's important for Jordan Love to be all in and to be leading and to be working with his teammates. If the goal for this team is Super Bowl or contending for the Super Bowl, the longer this hold in lasts, the more difficult that becomes.
Oh, for sure. You want your quarterback there, and it's so important that he is going to be present. Right now, they're not even in pads, but they're going to be in pads pretty soon. Family Night is right around the corner. Family Night sold out next week. It is sold out. I don't think, all due respect to Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt, new addition Jacob Eason to the roster at quarterback as that third quarterback throwing in camp right now. People want to see Jordan Love. I don't think they want to see Jacob Eason, Michael Pratt, and Sean Clifford more than they want to see Jordan Love. But the thing is, though, it's like his deal, I feel like, is going to have the domino effect the rest of the league, where you see in Miami, Tua Tagovailoa, he's doing individual drills, but he's not doing any team stuff. He's not doing heavy stuff as he awaits a new contract. Dak Prescott in Dallas, he wants a new contract. He's up for a new deal. It's just those are the quarterbacks. I feel like they're waiting for the Jordan Love deal to drop before those deals get done as well. It's just an interesting situation overall. Gil, let me ask you this, though, where when does it become a concern for you when Jordan Love, how long can you go until Jordan Love, with Jordan Love not having a new contract extension? How much longer are you willing to go to see this hold out?
I mean, like you said, ideally, when the pads come on, you want him there.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, I want him at least available for the first preseason game. And, we'll see whether or not, that ends up happening and how long this is going to take. Look, the good news is both sides seem to want to get a deal done. Both sides seem optimistic. They don't seem like they're so far apart that, this is going to blow up and it's all going to go to hell. The problem is the devil is in the details.
Mm-hmm.
How you parse out a particular bonus, whether it's a signing bonus, whether it's a incentive, all these little details end up becoming part of the equation, and it's causing a delay. To me, I want him to be in practice when they put pads on, but as a later sort of date, I want him available by the first preseason game. And to me, the big concern also is that you look at the way that the other quarterbacks in camp have performed, and you realize there's a big drop-off between Sean Clifford, who took over as the number one guy in practice, Michael Pratt, who's a rookie. You expect him to need a little time, and Jordan Love, where he's at right now. So if Love, if they go down to Brazil with either Pratt or Clifford as their starting quarterback, you revise the expectations for the entire season.
I do think a deal is going to get done before week one. And I see in the comment section right now, it's kind of reflective how some Packer fans are feeling, where Chuck Norris, I don't think it's the real Chuck Norris, but Chuck Norris is saying Jordan Love's not that guy. He had a handful of decent games. That's all. Let the bum go. No, man, not Chuck. You got to, this guy is the future quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, he had a handful of decent games, but guess what? He got better as the year went on. Even it was that Pittsburgh game where stuff turned around, where, yeah, he threw a couple interceptions, but guess what? He took steps forward, and he got better and better as the year went on. He's definitely the guy. And when you have a guy that you feel good about, a quarterback, you got to go forward with that. There's a lot. I guarantee you there's probably 20, 25 other teams who wish they had Jordan Love right now as their starting quarterback. It's a huge drop-off from Jordan Love to Sean Clifford. No disrespect to Sean Clifford, but that's just the way it is. And you need to pay the guy. The Packers, whatever the details is that they're trying to work out, whether it's guaranteed money, how much cash up front he's going to get right away. You know the Packers, how they like to structure those deals. They like to put most of the money in the beginning years and then have lesser money later years. You just hope that Jordan Love and David Mulugeta, his agency for Jordan Love, hopefully they can come to some kind of middle ground. The sooner he gets out there, the better. I personally hope family night that he has a contract extension. That'd be really nice to get that done and over with by the time we roll around to next Tuesday.
Yeah, the sooner the better. Obviously, what you don't want to do, though, you don't want to come in with a bad deal. You don't want to rush it and then end up with a deal like what the Packers had, the last deal they signed with Aaron Rodgers, where it just set up a whole lot of dead cap money and just made getting out of the relationship with Rodgers that much more difficult. You want a deal that's fair to both sides, where Love gets the money he deserves and the Packers have the flexibility they need to deal with the salary cap going forward and put a quality team around Jordan Love in order to continue to keep the window open for contention. So you want to get it done quick, but you more than that want to get it done right.
Yeah. Oh, big time. And I will say, where it's like, obviously this is a little frustrating for Packer fans right now that Jordan Love is not, he's at camp, but he's not at camp. Right. But the good thing is, though, right now is that they did extend one of their key players on the defense and defensive tackle, Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark getting that rare third contract deal. We talked about all offseason how important Kenny Clark is. The Packers don't give out third contracts to many guys. The guys who do get those third deals, definitely worth it. 3 years, $64 million. Honestly, I thought I think the Packers are kind of saving money. I thought he'd definitely ask for a lot more money given the defensive linemen like Christian Wilkins and Chris Jones. and Justin Madubuike and Derek Brown around the league getting significantly higher amounts of money than Kenny Clark. But in all, I think this is a win-win for all sides. Kenny Clark's got a deal done. He's going to be in Green Bay for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and that's the good news. And look, Kenny Clark has earned the third contract, 3 Pro Bowl trips already. He's still, not 30 yet. Not a lot of players signed their third contract and, are still in their 20s. So you got to like that. Last year was his best statistical season. He won't turn 29 until October. I am really pleased with this. And I'll tell you this. Yes, it looks like Clark did not he didn't hold out for every last dollar, but I really like the fact that this is a 3-year deal. So we're not talking about, oh yeah, he'll be 35 when the deal ends. And that the last 3 years of this deal, his play may fall off and there could be problems. This is a win-win. The Packers did not give him, a 5 or 7 year deal. Clark gets more money than he was going to get and ends up, staying in a team and in a system that he has already been, praising Jeff Hafley and the way this defense works. Mm-hmm. I think he can really excel in this defense and have a monster year this year. Now the question obviously is, now that he's gotten paid, he's still got to go out and do it.
Oh, yeah, but he's coming off his best career season. That's Absolutely. The thing where he had a career high 7.5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, 16 quarterback hits. He was the Packers' lone Pro Bowl selection, and he was an alternate selection. And the guy is, which is kind of shocking because he's so good. And the thing is, what's rare about him, this isn't a guy entering his 30s. He's 28. He's going to be 29 in October. He's still got some good years of football left ahead of him. He's so durable too. Obviously, knock on wood right there, Gil, where he's only missed 8 regular season games in his first 8 years in the league. The guy is very durable for the position he plays and the amount of attention he draws down in and down out. Kenny Clark is just an awesome player. The Packers have kind of said where he's the model Packer. He's what you want in a Green Bay Packer player in this organization. Even though it seems like he's kind of getting a discount now, he's making just over $21 million a year compared to the rest of the D linemen in the league, the elite D linemen. He's still getting a raise of about, $3.5-4 million a year. So again, a good deal all sides. And you wonder, we're playing some over under last week, Gil. Do you see Kenny Clark possibly reaching 10 sacks as a defensive tackle this year, where you're going to have 4 guys on the ground? He's got more opportunities. Is it going to be? Are his sacks numbers going to improve from 7.5 last year? I could see him getting double-digit sacks in this new defensive system.
I could too, and there's another reason for it too. If you go by the fact that Jeff Hafley will blitz more often than you and I could blitz more often than Joe Barry tended to do it, but if you accept the fact that they're going to blitz a lot more, and all of a sudden offensive linemen and running backs and tight ends are going to have to account for more than just the usual 4 guys who are coming at them, that is going to free up Kenny Clark even more. The aggressiveness of this defense should allow him to make more tackles for loss and more sacks. If he stays healthy, he really does have a chance, I think, to reach double-digit sacks this year.
Yeah, and you got to feel like, too, where Rashawn Gary, he's another guy who somehow has never reached double-digit sacks in his career, yet he always seems to be a step away from getting a sack. And he's always in the quarterback space, it seems like. And speaking of Rashawn Gary, we've been keeping tabs, Gil, on what's going on in training camp and what's kind of standing out and everything like that. We'll get to Rashawn Gary in a bit because he's had some really good days of practice. But luckily, Rashawn Gary, he seems fully healed from his ACL injury that he was recovering from a couple of years ago. Now it's just a matter of who else needs to get healthy, and there's some injury issues going on with the Packers. It doesn't seem like anything super serious or anything like that, but worth touching on for sure. Where you have guys like offensive lineman Donovan Jennings, offensive lineman Zach Tom, tight end Tucker Kraft, wide receiver Alex Magoo. Magoo more likely is a roster hopeful. They're on the player. He has been cut. Okay.
He has been cut. Yes.
And he was on the player unable to perform list to open up the year. The Packers then placed 5 players on the non-football injury list open camp. That included 5th-round rookie safety Keaton Oladapo with a toe injury, cornerback Corey Ballantyne with a hamstring, offensive tackle Caleb Jones with a hamstring, and wide receiver Jaden Reed with a toe, and then also running back Marshawn Lloyd with a hip injury. Gil, I'm going to ask you, of all these injuries and everything like that, what's maybe the most concerning right now to you to open camp?
Well, first of all, Reed did return to practice on Wednesday.
Yes,
so
and I was going to touch on that. You just,
yes,
I
so
was going to touch on
already. To me, out of all of these, I think the two that concern me the most, obviously Zach Tom, because of how critical he is to the offensive line. And again, I don't think anybody is suggesting he's going to miss, a significantly long time. Although, let's face it, a torn pec is not something that you just come back from right away.
No.
But the other one to me is Marshawn Lloyd, because as a rookie, he's got to be learning a lot. The things that he needs to work on more than anything is picking up blitzes, pass protection, and catching passes out of the backfield. Those are things you got to learn by doing. You could study the playbook till you're blue in the face, and that'll say, okay, when this happens, I go here. But when it's happening right in front of you at full speed, it's got to be automatic. It's got to be a reaction, a reflex. And, if you can't be on the field, you can't prove that you're able to pick up a blitzing linebacker or safety, that you can, be that guy who's in to help protect Jordan Love in a passing situation. Or just, if he's a good receiver out of the backfield, that gives him the opportunity to play more roles in the offense. So to me, having a rookie miss time early in camp, that's, he's playing catch up before he's even seen the field.
Yeah, to me, Marshawn Lloyd is significant, where this is a guy who, hearing out of minicamp and everything, and when the Packers drafted, this is a guy who could have competed for the running back number 2 job, but he's a rookie and he's already going to be behind the 8 ball a little bit. This doesn't help his chances. And it sounds like it's not going to be a long-term injury, which is a solid thing. Zach Tom and Tucker Kraft, they both have pec injuries. Tucker Kraft, I don't know how he suffered it, but it was suffered supposedly after he got married. So obviously you could kind of do the math right there, but it sounds like they're going to be back soon rather than later. Zach Tom's already kind of working his way back into things. He's not doing team activities. But luckily, the Packers know what they have in Zach Tom, and they could kind of slowly bring him back. Donovan Jennings, though, he was one of their undrafted rookies that they signed right after the draft, and he was the big bonus baby of the undrafted rookie class. And offensive line, outside of those top 5, top 6 guys that we've been talking about with Rasheed Walker and Elton Jenkins and Josh Myers, if you want to include Sean Ryan, first-round pick Jordan Morgan, and Zach Tom. Outside of that, there is a lot of competition for those final few offensive lineman jobs. Donovan Jennings is obviously following the money. He's probably got a decent chance to make the team. But if he's not out there, it's going to be hard for him to make the team. So that's a little bit of concern where, as an offensive lineman, when you're a rookie, you got to be out there, man. And especially as an undrafted guy, the cards are kind of always against you in that way. Donovan Jennings needs to get out there. But that's kind of a concerning injury to me, where he's a guy who I feel like could make a run at a potential not a starting job, but a decent backup job in Green Bay. And him being on the sideline, not ready to go, is a problem.
No doubt. It hurts his chances. And look, they could always theoretically stash him on IR, but you don't want to do that. You want to get him out on the field, and hopefully that happens sooner rather than later, because when you invest $100,000 guarantee to an undrafted free agent, that's a statement. You want that guy on the field. You want him to at least show that he's capable of contributing.
Yeah, you hope that these guys, these rookies who are missing valuable time, you hope that they will eventually they'll get on the field eventually, and we want to see them at least in preseason games. That's something with every rookie class that we see where it's like, oh, I just want to see him play a little bit. I just want to see what we got, what to expect in this kid. Keaton Oladapo is also missing some valuable time because opposite Xavier McKinney, they're rotating all the safeties next to Xavier McKinney with the number 1 defense. Evan Williams has been getting time with the number 1 defense. Javon Bullard has been getting time with the number 1 defense. Oladapo would probably be in that rotation also with Anthony Johnson Jr. too. He's missing valuable reps. That's just the sooner you get back, the better. Oladapo did have that injury, that toe injury going back to the NFL draft, back to rookie camp and everything like that. And he's still recovering. Sounds like he's going to be back sooner rather than later, but he's also missing valuable time as well. But Gil, besides injuries, we're hearing other stuff from camp too. And we had touched on Rashawn Gary. And it sounds like when it was team 11 on 11, Rashawn Gary, no one could block this guy. And guess what? Rashawn Gary sounds like the amount of great publicity he's been getting this past week. Sounds like he could be a pretty under the radar pick to win the Defensive Player of the Year this year, because the guy's finally an aggressive style scheme where he can really, he could potentially get some big numbers if he's playing half as well as we're hearing from training camp.
Yeah, he is looking really good. And you got to remember, at Michigan in college, he played defensive line. He started plays with his hand on the ground. That's going to give him an advantage in making this transition. It is a more aggressive defense, as you mentioned. He is really going to, I think, have a chance to shine in this defense, and he's off to a great start. Now, on the flip side of that, one of the guys he's beating and one of the guys who has looked really shaky in pass protection is Andre Dillard. And they moved him off first string with Zach Tom not practicing yet. And they moved him back to second string because Dillard just hasn't looked the part.
Yeah, Andre Dillard has had a lot of problems. He wasn't very good in Tennessee last year. That's why, again, where Donovan Jennings needs to get out there, because Donovan Jennings could take Andre Dillard's roster spot. But guess what? There's not a lot of offensive linemen available. They're not going to – Andre Dillard's going to have a job, which I don't know. The way it sounds like, it just sounds like he's struggled mightily. I got to add also Chuck Norris also just chimed in again about Kenny Clark, and he said it's a terrible signing. Chuck, come on, man. Are you just razzing us? Come on. Like, Kenny Clark is an incredible defensive tackle. That's all I'm going to say. And he opens things up for Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark, they definitely help each other out on that defensive line, Gil. And with him, too, it's like the offensive line, I don't know. With Rashawn Gary dominating, the defense sounds like they've been kicking the offense's butt so far in training camp. Is this more so an offense having issues because they're not fully healthy on the offensive line with Zach Tom being out, with not having Jordan Love at quarterback? Or is it more so that the defense is actually a little further ahead of the curve than we expect?
Well, I think the defense usually is a little quicker early in training camp. I think Jordan Love's absence makes a big difference as far as what the offense can do. And then obviously missing a number of your offensive linemen and one of your tight ends doesn't help either. I'm not concerned so much about the fact that the defense seems to be ahead of the offense right now. The bigger concern in my mind is getting Jordan Love back into camp.
Yeah, it definitely is. That is obviously a big thing. You want to see your offense at full strength going against a defense at full strength. But I will say, where it seems like this defense, what we're hearing from camp too, where they seem to be all in on Jeff Hafley, which you love to hear. You love to hear that. It sounds like Jeff Hafley is going to be very, very aggressive. It sounds like guys like Eric Stokes have had some really good days in camp, which is really encouraging, where Matt LaFleur's talked him up quite a bit after the injuries that he's had the last couple of years. It's just been such an uphill battle for Eric Stokes the last year and a half. And just to hear that he seems to be finding his rookie form is really, really promising. Another thing that we got to touch on, Gil, too, there's quite the kicking competition right now with Anders Carlson, with veteran Greg Joseph, rookie James Turner. Sounds like Anders Carlson is rising to the occasion. It sounds like he's been the best performer at training camp so far for the Green Bay Packers.
So far. And then, you remember Tuesday, they were kicking in a monsoon. I mean, they were practicing in a very heavy rainstorm. So that certainly did not help. But I mean, to me, the Packers want Anders Carlson to win this job. If they could pick the ideal situation, Carlson wins the kicking job because he has the biggest upside, the strongest leg. They invested a draft pick in him, which you don't usually necessarily do for kickers. So they want him to win the job, but they're not going to risk not having a reliable kicker out there and bring him back for a second year. So we have to see. Glad that he's off to a good start. He's got to be consistent. That's the key. And as I said a couple of weeks ago on the show, I think it's more mental than physical.
If he is like his brother Daniel and Rich Bisaccia could just teach him like he taught his brother Daniel, Anders Carlson's going to be a really good kicker. He's going to be a really good kicker, but he's got to show it when we get to the preseason games. Every kick's going to be really critical. Every extra point, every field goal attempt, that whole special teams operation in general. And we forgot to touch on before where the Packers signed Jacob Eason to the 90-man roster, but they cut long snapper from Wisconsin, Peter Bowden, a guy who we thought was going to make the active roster. Now, who knows? When Jordan Love gets an extension, they could very well bring Bowden back to the 90-man roster. Probably easier for a guy like a long snapper not to find another job elsewhere, and in case Jordan Love does ink a deal with the Packers pretty soon, and they could bring Peter Bowden back. But that whole operation is going to be under intense watch and scrutiny. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens moving forward, Gil. So it just, did you have something to touch on? I feel like I'm taking words out of you.
Yeah, no, there's a weird thing with Carlson. His problem seems to be between 30 and 39 yards. He's not so bad from 40 yards to 49. He's automatic from inside 30 practically. But remember, extra points are now like a 32, 34 yard field goal. Mm-hmm. That seems to be the area that he struggles the most. And it's hard to comprehend why that middle ground that is almost automatic for a lot of kickers in this league gives him such problems.
Yeah. And it's more of a mental thing. We got to see him in game action in the preseason. If James Turner's better, if Greg Joseph's better, Anders Carlson won't have a job. Brian Gutekunst is not afraid to get away from draft picks earlier rather than later. If it's not working, it's not working. It's more of a wait and see approach. It's good that he's performing well in training camp, but being on it's like basketball, man. Anyone in an open gym can make shot after shot, but when it comes to game time, some guys just freeze up. Is Anders Carlson going to be that way? I hope not, but it very well could be the case. Gil, before we wrap up, though, just want to ask you real quick, what articles do you have coming up online for Packers Post, Cheesehead TV? Let the YouTube, Facebook viewers know what you got coming up and cooking online this week.
Well, for the Packers Post, I'm working on an article about Eric Stokes, as a matter of fact, and how he's looked early in training camp. And over at Cheesehead TV, I also did an article on the Jordan Love hold-in. And on Cheesehead TV, talking a little bit about A.J. Dillon and how good he's looked early on in camp, really drawing some rave reviews, and that's even more important with Marshawn Lloyd not available.
Yeah, and A.J. Dillon, talk about a guy who has just looked ready, a guy who knows that his job's on the line. It sounds like he's coming thinner, he's quicker, he's faster. If we can get second-round pick A.J. Dillon, if we can get a better A.J. Dillon, that offense just became a little bit better, Gil. So, hey, you ready for some trivia coming forward, though?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, we're all obviously awaiting the Jordan Love Packers agreed to a contract extension. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Now, we briefly touched on it earlier in this episode. The team signed quarterback Jacob Eason earlier this week to make sure the Packers had at least 3 quarterbacks participating in camp. Eason's a former 4th-round pick. He was picked by the Indianapolis Colts with the 122nd overall pick in the 2020 draft, the same draft which also included current and hopefully future longtime Packers quarterback Jordan Love. Eason was previously college teammates with one current Green Bay Packer. Gil, can you name the current Packer who was a former teammate of Eason's in college?
Ha. Okay. Now, I know Eason played college in 2 places.
Correct.
He started off at Georgia, so was it at Georgia?
I could tell you, yes, it was at Georgia. It wasn't because I believe there's only one guy. He ended his college career at Washington. There's only one guy on the roster, I think, who played at Washington, and that was undrafted rookie Raylan Goforth.
Right.
Eason was gone by the time Goforth was at Washington.
Then I am going to, it can't be who I was going to guess. See, I was going to guess Eric Stokes, but I don't think the years match up.
I'm not saying anything.
I'll say Stokes.
Gil, you're too darn smart. It is Eric Stokes. Eason and Stokes are teammates at the University of Georgia in 2017. Eason's final year of college ball in Athens after losing the starting job to Jake Fromm. Eason then transferred to Washington. He was the Huskies starting quarterback in 2019. Stokes, he was a freshman in 2017 at Georgia. He was redshirted after the season by the Bulldogs. He appeared, though, in 36 games in his final 3 years at Georgia. So they were teammates, but Stokes never saw the field in 2017. But him and Eason were technically teammates in 2017. So there you go, Gil. Hey, don't doubt yourself, man. I believed in you.
And John in the chat there, he got it right as well. Want to thank everybody, by the way, who participated in the chat. Chris N. and Chuck and John. So thank you, everybody.
We had Chuck Norris, folks. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandmothers, your grandfathers. Tell everybody. Tell your enemies, too. I don't care.
Excellent. All right. Well,
catch your breath, Gil.
Yeah, that's going to do it for today. We'll be right back here next week. Follow us on Twitter at Gil Packers and at GB Packers Sean to stay up to date on all things Packers or to ask us questions. Or you can email us at gbpackersean@gmail.com. Make sure you subscribe to Packers Talk on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And a big thanks to PackersTalk.com for powering our show. Thank you for listening. Until next time, go Pack Go.
Go Pack